Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Steve Healy, head of the New Ideas Scheme at British Telecom.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Healy.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the rousing support, and hope you liked our little video that we use to promote our scheme internally. As you've heard, I'm Steve Healy, and I'd like to spend the next 30 to 40 minutes just to talking to you about the BT New Idea Scheme, how we operate, how we track business benefits, and how we defend and justify our program. But before I do that, I just want to spend a little bit of time telling you about BT and about me. So me, as it says there, I joined BT 15 years ago, just over now, and I've been head of New Ideas Scheme since 2005. That's when we started our journey with Bright Ideas. Prior to that, I did some incubator activities in BT. That's mainly around the emerging mobile apps market in before 2005. Prior to that, again, some incubator activities outside of BT for startup companies, again in telecommunications and more in a product development type field. As for BT, well, we are one of the world's leading service providers, and we provide services to both consumers and businesses in the UK and to 170 countries, more than 170 customers. Key thing for me to point out here is our business units. I'm going to refer to those in the presentation as we go along, and some of them, or most of them, should be self-explanatory, but things like EE, that's our mobile service provider, airtime. OpenReach is our engineering division, and TSO, as we call it, the bottom technology service operations, that's our core network, exchange buildings, and that's where research innovation sits as well. BT has had a reputation for being a little bit of an innovative company. So back in 1926, you can see there that we had the first transatlantic radio telephone call between the US and the UK, and that, in those days, for a 3-minute call, cost $19. So things have moved quite significantly since then. I don't think anyone would pay that much. Going on to 1999, first GPRS data call. That was the forerunner to us all using our smartphones today to get emails, post things on social media, etc., things like that. And in 2014, we've got this 3 terabits of data in our core network. What does that mean, I hear you say? So in terms of give out some context, that's like us transmitting 100 high-definition movies in 1 second to our customers. Part of our Open Innovation Program, again, you can see that we've kind of got presence all over the world, but Silicon Valley, that's where my MD sits. He's just down the road in Santa Clara. So again, he's off in Asia at the moment, I believe. And in BT, we have our main Research and Development Centre, which is in Industrial Park in the UK. We've got around 3,000 people on site there, and again, they're the guys doing all the cool stuff, and girls, of course, obviously. And as you can see, the rest of the place, we've got university partnerships and different companies we interact with worldwide. So that's enough about BT and me. I'm here today to talk about the New Idea Scheme. So in terms of the scheme itself, As you can see there, it's a global scheme, and we set this up in 2005 with Bright Ideas. Vincent, who probably many of you know, was over in the UK writing code with one of his colleagues, and it was quite an interesting time for us. We had a project and set a challenge by our MD to say, we have to have this program up and running in a space of about 5 months, and we did it with Bright Ideas' help. We have ideas from 24 countries today. I think the video had about 20, so show you that's a little bit outdated. And when we launched, we had 3 open challenges, and they are the improving customer services, revenue growth, and how we work. They're still there today. We've tweaked them, changed the language, and altered them slightly. And in terms of challenges, open challenges, we've run about 95 to date. So you can see from 2005 to now, that's quite a good number. And I was telling some people earlier, we've actually launched another one today. Well, I'm here in the US, so fingers crossed that's going to go well. In terms of what we do, then we support, obviously, we have our open challenges, but we also support innovation days, hackathons, any kind of pitch days, we support them in BT. And we try in our campaigns make sure that we've got SLAs in place. So when people engage with a particular campaign, sorry, challenge I should call it for you guys, they know what's going to happen. They'll get an email obviously straight away, they'll tell them what's going to happen, and they'll explain the process to them. So that's something quite important to us. Other key thing to point out for us is on the right-hand side of the slide, we own the budget for our platform. So again, we as a team own that, and for the comms that supports the platform. The budget holders are the people in the business units, those guys I mentioned to you on the right-hand side of the previous slide. They're the ones who own all the development budget. So again, we've got to go with a good idea. As it says there, we've got to help fine-tune ideas, get it to the right people, and then they have to compete with other known developments that are going on in BT. So again, it's quite a trick that we have to do there. Give you a flavor for volume, then you can see we've received just over 22,000 ideas to date. We have quite a high attrition rate at that front end, you'll see. So 22,000 ideas in, and we sent 7,300 through to our evaluator community. That's quite a high rate, and various reasons for that, but again, you know, that's something we have to manage, make sure people aren't putting duplicate ideas in, things that we've done before past the company. So that's, again, it's something we manage, and with our challenge managers, we do that hopefully quite successfully. And again, as ideas get through to the evaluation stage, as we call it, then about 1,000 of those actually get adopted by the business unit. So taken up, still no guarantee the idea is actually going to be implemented, but at least it's got a named donor, and they're taking the idea forward. And then of those 1,000 ideas that we've sent through, you can see just over half of them have actually been implemented. And track benefits we've got to date is $350 million. And again, that's all agreed with BT, signed off, and hopefully later you'll see how we do that, and you'll see the kind of rigor that we go through to make sure that's an actual number rather than a theoretical stroke business case number. Thank you. So a key point to look at there is 22,000 ideas, you say. So if I go to my next slide, you'll see that's come from 11,000 submitters, idea submitters. So you can see there's a bit of a disconnect there. So we do have what we term our serial submitters in BT. These are people who engage with us on a regular basis, and that's quite a good community. And we kind of reach out and use that community in different ways in new ideas and in the wider innovation team. So we see those guys as being quite important to us, and we like to regularly keep in contact with them. We've got around 1,400 subject matter experts across BT. So these are the people who do the theoretical evaluation of all the ideas that we send through. And we probably have a relationship with around 100 of those people. And then those people have their own sub-networks that they tap into, and we can reassign ideas accordingly. And the rest of them there you'll see is probably a key one there is return on investment. So for every dollar we spend, or pound as I said earlier on the video, then we bring 70 back to BT, whether that's through new revenues or through cost savings. So that's a figure we can hopefully stand up, hand on heart, and say, yes, that's what we've delivered for the company. Hey. And then in terms of rewarding people, we do that in various methods and ways. You'll see there that in cash awards over 10 years, we've paid out $845,000 to individuals in BT, and that's as a direct result of their idea being launched and then tracked, and then we pay a percentage of the tracked net benefit to an idea submitter. So that's something we take very, very seriously. Other ways we can encourage participation is reputation badges. So we have things like bronze, silver, gold, idea submitters, collaborators, evaluators, challenge admin people, launched ideas. They all kind of get a reputation badge, and our people use that on their email signatures, or just for their own one-to-ones and their own development. They say to their line managers, look, here we are, I'm a certified gold idea submitter or evaluator or collaborator. Again, it's quite good, good recognition for them. And also we have e-cards. These are electronic thank you cards, which basically comes in an email to the individual, also gets copied into their line manager, so again, they can see why they're receiving this e-card for being engaging with the scheme, and if they've got an idea that's gone through to various stages. So in terms of, that's the scheme there, but in terms of what do we deliver, well, these are some figures for last year that we've had agreed and signed off by our finance colleagues, and you can see there that in terms of how much new revenue, how much actual cost savings, and how much cost avoidance we've scorecarded. And again, those are first-year actuals and two-year forecasts, because everything we measure is on a three-year cycle, three-year basis. And another big thing for us is dwell times. We want to make sure that our customers, in terms of us, our employees, they get a response and their ideas dealt with fast. So at the evaluation stage, we've got around 45 days. We'll get an idea that comes in, gets evaluated, and feedback given to the individual, whether it's going to go forward or it's going to close. And if it's going to close, why is it closed? And again, as ideas progress through from evaluation to adoption, as you can imagine, we're now competing with other projects in BT. So we've got it's a longer cycle. About 9 months is average for BT for something to get to a business unit, to get some ownership, and then to go through the development cycle. So we're kind of keeping in with that. Again, we've got goals and aspirations to bring that down further, and you'll see some slides around how we measure and monitor that later. So what does a typical call to action in BT look like? This is the template we use for everything that we do. And one of the key points that we try to emphasize to our challenge managers is the graying timeline at the bottom there, in terms of a campaign may be open. Sorry, I keep saying campaign, that's our terminology. Challenge may be open for 6 to 8 weeks. But we say you've got to remember that you've got a wrap-up period of at least 2 to 3 months. So let's try and make sure that the challenge managers stay engaged with us, make sure they know what's required of them. And then if we are going to actually, something gets implemented and launched, we want them involved for 12 months, because we ultimately want to reward someone based on how the idea is actually performed. So again, it's important that they stay engaged with us throughout the whole process. So it's not just a 6 to 8 week cycle, it's a 15-month cycle, we say to people, and we try to emphasize that they stay involved. So in terms of, that's the kind of overview. I'm going to go now through some of the activities we do, what kind of challenges we run, and then after that I'll touch on the measures, which is hopefully of interest to you. We'll see what happens there. So in terms of activities, then, again, like most challenges that people run here, we've got, well, for us, we've got the always open ones. We've had those 3 which have been open since 2005. We have open to all in the company. We have those which are open to subsets of the company, whether it's a business unit or even split down even further. We look at theme challenges, and more interestingly, more recently, we've got hackathons and pitch days, which I'm going to speak about very shortly. Problem solving, but most of the things that we look at, it's all focused on the customer. How can we improve things for our customer? How can we improve that experience for them? How can we stop faults occurring in the network, etc. And on there, you've got a couple of examples. The one in the top right, improving customer service cost efficiencies. That's one of our permanently open campaigns, which has been there since 2005. Looks a little bit different now because of all the work we've done with Bright Ideas, and it's much more appealing. 2 of the others I'll touch on shortly, but the skull and the lanyard with the past is quite an interesting one. This is a 3D printer campaign that we just ran this year. So in essence, we went out to our engineering community and said, how can we help you improve your customer experience by creating a tool or something on a 3D printer which you can use every day? So on that campaign challenge, we went through a series of capturing the ideas themselves, and then we used the voting which had been in place for the ideas, and then we prioritized them, the top 10. And then we used comms out to that community again and said, okay, there's your top 10. We commit to delivering the top 3. You vote on which 3 you want delivering. And so that's what we did. And those ideas have now, they're in the field being used by the engineering community, and we're seeing if we can make those permanent solutions with our suppliers, etc. So in terms of some of the activities, Dragon's Den, pitch days, Shark Tank, people know it as different things. But for us, this is a new area for us, and we started it this year. And we're going to run 3 of these campaigns for the business. And these are focused on, BT has some public 2020 ambitions we've published out there. And we say we're going to help 10 million people overcome social disadvantage is one of them. And this campaign was all about reaching those people who are most disconnected and socially vulnerable in our towns and cities. So this was quite a focused challenge which went out to everyone in BT. Not everyone was engaging with us. As you can see, it's quite a tight subject. But what we got 46 ideas, which came in over the summer months. And we selected around 10 of those initially. And then those people had some coaching from within BT. And we actually chose 6 to go through. And those guys went to the TV studios in London, and they kind of mimicked the Dragon's Den / Shark Tank approach, where they pitched their ideas to the Dragons, which were BT board members and heads of departments. So again, some quite senior people involved there. And all 6 gained support, and all 6 are now being taken forward. And in Dragon's Den, Shark Tank, we're just about to launch our next challenge in that series, and that's going to be aimed at helping disadvantaged girls in India. So again, we have quite a large presence in India with a lot of our contact center support functions there. Other types of activities we do, hackathons. We've heard quite a few people today talk about hackathons. Again, in BT, we run hackathons, and we use the idea scheme as a way to feed a hackathon. So top 1, virtuality. Again, we've heard that several times today. So we've got people in BT and EE, one of our business units, the mobile division, working with Samsung, and we're capturing ideas to take into that workshop. And you can see about virtuality, what it means to different people. And I've kind of highlighted there the words personal, simple, and brilliant. They are the BT values. That's what we kind of instill in everybody in terms of how we should behave, how we should interact with our customers, etc. Again, we try to instill that message in people so we can bring everything back to the BT values themselves. That campaign's still live. That's going to take place in November in a Hot House event. And as you see there, so far, 40 ideas have been selected to go forward, and out of the 85 that have been submitted. And they'll probably be grouped and then worked on the days over the hackathon to try and bring those to life and see if we can actually deliver something from them. The bottom one is a hackathon that took place in July. Houston Hackathon, aptly named because in BT we do have serious issues, and it's named Houston because of Houston, we have a problem. So that's some of the comms around that one. So again, we kind of took place, and we took all ideas into that hackathon event, and 18 of them were eventually grouped together. 7 projects were created, and again, they're now moving forward, and they're being looked at, being worked on, and seen if they can be implemented in the company. That gives you a flavor for the activities that we do. I'd like to then talk about success criteria and measures. So this is the main crux of what I want to show you today in terms of, well, what is it we do? What do we measure? How do we know we've been successful or not? Well, we all start with, at the very base level, we look at year on year, quarter by quarter, what's happened with all the ideas. On the right-hand side there, you'll see some statuses. They are common across all our campaigns. We use those same status types across everything so we can do things like this. So we can look at every interaction that's taken place, because an idea is submitted, it can go forward, it can go back to return to submitter. So you can see an idea could have several, many types of interactions. Why is that useful for us? Well, then it enables us to look at things like this. On the far right-hand side there, that is the area where ideas come in. We term it pre-screen. That's the initial review that's taking place, inevitably by the challenge manager. And so we look at those ideas and say, OK, it's reasonable. Do we need some more work on it? Do we return it to submitter? Do we kind of fine-tune it with them? Do we help them get the pitch right? And as you can see, the stats there say that we have 42% of those ideas which go forward to the evaluation stage. So it's quite a high attrition rate at that front end. And again, that is across the whole scheme. They do vary greatly by campaigns. Some don't have as many, some have a lot more. We have one campaign which basically everything goes to evaluation. So again, it's kind of differs across the company. So once an idea has gone through to the evaluators, we then look at, well, is this idea something we're going to take forward in BT? Have we looked at this before? If it's going to go forward, who's going to own it? And so that's the ones at the adoption stage. So we can, another very high attrition rate. An idea goes to evaluation. It's theoretical, we know, but we can always get some form of feedback to say yay or nay. And you see, so the percentage of all those going through, about 22% of ideas who go to the evaluation stage go through to adoption. Of those 22% that go through, we then look at, well, what's the likelihood of that thing being launched? And you can see right now we've got a 36% achievement rate of ideas which, once they go to adoption, they're worked on through the cycle of the adoption phase. Just over 36% actually get implemented by the company. So again, we refer back to the original slide, 22,000 ideas, 510 actual idea launches. That's where we look at in terms of every interaction going on the platform to give us this kind of information in terms of dwell times. We also look at this versus those open challenges that we have all the time against the targeted challenges that we run for people. And again, we can look at some good trends there. So we can see last year, for instance, you may ask why the trend was going down across everything. Well, last year we migrated to the cloud with Bright Ideas. So we had our... Before that, we had what was termed, I found out last night, the platform, sitting in BT world. So as I say, so we were purposely not trying to promote the scheme as much. So in Q2 and Q3 of our financial year, we kind of didn't mind that going down. But obviously, our senior managers were quite upset about that and said, we want more ideas, and how come your ideas are going down? So in Q4, and again, our financial year goes from April to March, we kind of implemented Bright Ideas on the 16th of February, a date ingrained in my mind forever. And then we kind of said, OK, to kind of coincide with that, how can we drive up more submissions? So basically, we offered 2 smartphones to everyone, to people in BT to submit an idea. So as you can see, it kind of worked. People started engaging with us again, and our numbers recovered. In terms of because it was kind of a challenge in terms of the numbers from our point of view, quality wasn't great. But in some ways, our students didn't mind it at that stage. They wanted the numbers up. For us as challenge managers, it wasn't so good because we had to manage them and make sure they all got feedback. So again, as you can see, this year we're kind of increasing again. And because we've now moved to the cloud, all the extra functionality, our new look and feel, we're doing more on targeted challenges, as you can see there. So that's kind of a driver for us. And I've mentioned to some guys, it's quite fortuitous that we have the big rocket here. We've actually launched a campaign called the Rocket today to a group of people. So again, I'll have to feed that one back to the guys. So again, that shows you there in terms of the trend against last year, this year, quarter on quarter. And again, everything I've shown you so far, we can actually break down to an individual challenge so we can see the difference between that. Again, that's very important for us because we have to report on these things. Other kind of stats that we like to look at are evaluation dwell times. And you say, wow, look at that. So to us, big green bubbles low down the graph, very good. Red bubbles, not so good, because they're open ideas, red bubbles. So as you can imagine, as time progresses, obviously looking at September of last year, we've got lots of ideas out there with ideas evaluators, so you expect them to be open. As time goes back, you can see this should become fewer and fewer. And our oldest open idea was sent for evaluation back in January 2016. And again, we say, well, why is that still there? We look with the challenge manager, is that valid? And yes, it is valid. We know exactly what that idea is, who's got the action, and why it's still there. Again, very important that we know that so we can make sure everything's coming through correctly. We have a goal, you can see there in this year, that no idea older than 6 months will be open for evaluation. So we're not too far away. We're almost there, and we've got another half of year to go for us to try and reach that one. So again, I'm trying to get across there in terms of we look at the movement of ideas each quarter, each month even. We look at key observations, what we can see, how many do we have at the beginning of the quarter, how many at the end, and obviously we try and get ideas reviewed and feedback given to the idea submitters as quickly as possible, because again, they'll engage more with us if we give them regular feedback and constructive feedback. And just to give you an idea in terms of that, we had one guy, his 22nd idea netted him a £30,000 award on the scheme. So he kind of learned from past failures, and then his 22nd one was an absolutely stellar idea, made us lots of revenue, and so we had no hesitation paying that guy £30,000. So yeah, that's what sometimes we do. Another thing we have financial targets. I've got a financial target hanging over my neck, which we have to achieve each year. And this is how we break it down in terms of revenue, cost savings, and cost avoidance. Every idea that goes to adoption, we have a value against it, where it's notional. We also have a weighting factor against it. So what's the likelihood of that idea being delivered, and when's it going to be delivered? So as an idea goes into adoption, we kind of give it a 50-50, we don't know. And we know from past trends, an idea is going to be there for about 9 months. So if anything gets to adoption today, we're looking at probably Q2 next year when that's likely to happen. So that's how the premise we start off. As an idea develops in the adoption stage, we fine-tune that. The values, as business cases start being prepared and come through, we get a better feel for what the idea is going to deliver and when it's going to deliver. And again, we have the same problems I've heard people mention today about our business units have a budget. Once they've spent the budget, it's kind of done for this year, so we've got to kind of pitch for next year. So again, that's all part and parcel of the process that we do. But in terms of our actual targets, the one you can see at the bottom, the £24 million target on cost savings, that's shared by my business unit MD. So the guy in charge of research and innovation in BT, he shares that target, and so every month he's saying to us, how are we doing? What can we do to make sure we're going to hit this target? Because I don't want to fail it. So you can see that's the kind of sponsorship we get, although I'm not sure it's a great kind of sponsorship, but it's there, and it helps. And again, we have an overall financial target, which I didn't convert to dollars. It's £25 million, or what's that? It's probably about $25 million in this current exchange rates, I think things are going. So that's something we've got to achieve. And you can see on the graphs, we kind of highlight there how we're doing. So in revenue, you can see we've actually achieved our target. We had one idea worth £8.7 million launched this quarter, which is great for us. So that's ticking the box there. And we've now got to focus our efforts on our cost saving and cost avoidance targets to make sure we deliver those for the year. And again, he says, touch wood, we've not failed them so far, so we're trying hard to get there. Other things we track are our business units. These are the ones I mentioned earlier to you. So again, we look at engagement levels, we look at how many ideas launch, and how much we pay people in terms of rewards. You may notice that EE, 0 ideas this time last year. That's because we bought EE, as BT did in January this year. So that was an acquisition from T-Mobile and Orange. So they're now part of the BT family. And it puts us back in the mobile market space. And again, we discuss these kind of trends and these figures with what we call our business unit leads. So the top one, OpenReach, you can see that's quite a significant drop in terms of ideas this quarter. They're not too bothered about it because quality is increasing, and that's something they've been focusing on in their business unit to make sure that the quality is higher and try and not get as many ideas. And so they're kind of happy with what's happening there. And as you can see, if you move along, you'll see, well, in terms of benefits, that's doing quite well because they're up on last year. Only slightly, but they're up with less ideas. So again, it's quite, and we use all these kinds of facts and figures. What you'll see there in terms of cash awards I mentioned, and again, OpenReach, our engineering guys, they pay awards out quite a lot. And I think I heard before, and we have a similar thing, that our engineering ideas are generally our better, well thought through ideas, other than, let's say, our people in the call centers. They're very quick onto the scheme. They'll put an idea in and not really give it a lot of research. And so we have to do a lot more interaction with those kind of guys. Reward Central, on one of the early slides you saw a prepaid MasterCard. This is an encouragement award, so as ideas progress in some campaigns, we'll give them $10 or $100 for ideas as they progress through. Or we may say, great idea, it's kind of prompted us to do something. We know we're never going to be able to measure it in terms of its value, therefore we'll give you a notional award, and that works for those kind of people. We also have to do what we call an annual retrospective. So we've gone through all this rigor throughout the year to make sure our figures are correct, that we're only claiming what we should be claiming as a program. But even so, we have this rigor with our finance communities that we look at some of the high-value ideas. So sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. You've got to remember that when we launch an idea, it could be anywhere within the year. So something that's launched in April this year, chances are it's going to be slightly different. And again, that kind of shows you the top one, not too bad, not too far off. The second one, we actually found that it was overperforming, so therefore we can claim extra. Whereas the bottom one, and again, this probably happens in all organizations, was something where we found that the people involved in the campaign and the idea, they actually moved on to different roles. So we kind of lost that traction, and we had to almost start again. And ultimately, the finance teams were unable to say to us, I can't sign off that value, but I can from the trial results that we did. So that's why that one dropped significantly. Into my last section, I'm looking at my clock, it's got red light flashing, so I'm not getting there. In terms of how do we encourage participation, celebrate success in BT? Well, everyone in BT wants to change the business for the better. No one comes to work in the morning and say, how can I fail things today? Everyone who gets involved in everything you do wants to make a change for the better. So that's kind of first and foremost. We get lots of ideas like that. Other things, people want to secure funding. They want to spot prizes. Will entice people. Will say, if you engage in this, you'll win an iPad or an experience day. And I think we did. We sent some people to the British America's Cup team headquarters as part of one of the campaigns we ran just recently. Ideas brought to life and trialed. You heard about 3D printing. Hackathons bring things to life. Our innovation days bring things to life. We have the tax-free cash awards that we pay. Again, always helps encourage people to submit ideas. And kind of new things for us is a referral scheme. So again, we were just kind of brainstorming how can we get more ideas, what can we do to encourage that. So we said, well, remember these serial submitters, we have these people, we have idea submitters, let's go to them, let them evangelize the scheme, let them become innovation champions, ambassadors, and let them try to sell the service to us. And we've kind of enticed them a little. If they get so many ideas to a certain stage, then they'll get a cash award from us. So again, true in a kind of a referral scheme. And then for us, crowdfunding, that's something new. So again, I'm going to use one of the apps from the Bright Idea platform, where we're looking to improve our employee experience. And by that I mean people in the organization, HR systems are a classic. We had a new HR system, and it had a few bugs, and people were very vocal about it. So this idea is that we'll have this crowdfunding, so people can back initiatives with their wooden dollars to say, yeah, we want this to take place, and we're willing to put our money behind it. And so that's how we're going to try and formulate that. We're still thinking it through. That's the early concept we're going to try and do there. In terms of success, how we promote things, well, we have what's called BT Today. That's our main intranet page. So if an idea success is of a significant value, then we'll get space on there. So again, we're competing with all sorts of things on there, as you can imagine, a company of our size. So this guy, Adrian, came up with an idea about converting a manual process to an automated process with his Q engine robot. We kind of tracked the annual benefits of $950,000, and the guy, he got a cash award for that. And quite interestingly, we also try and get external recognition for our people. And there's Ideas UK, I know there's Ideas America, Ideas Europe, and different people, organizations like that. And so he's actually made it through to the final there for the Idea of the Year competition with that idea, with about over 30 other ideas across the UK. So again, we'll be going to support him in November in Cardiff. Very quickly, his idea basically was that. I won't dwell on it too long because of time, but in essence, it was 55 minutes for a task to take place. After his robot, it came down to 15 minutes. Hence, now you can see how we can quantify that that's over a $900,000 saving for us as a company. We also had Russell, the guy in the middle. We were going to deploy audio conferencing services in Brazil. And Russell came up with the idea and said, okay, there's a time difference. We've got kit in the UK, which kind of drops in terms of volume later on, so why don't we connect that in some way to the internet and get people in Brazil using that platform. So straight away, that saved us spending on kit. That's a $1.7 million dollar saving straight away. And then obviously, it brings us to market quicker because the infrastructure is already there. We don't have to go for any tendering. And so our forecasts this year, you can see there in terms of revenue forecasts, what we expect to be delivered. We've got one more slide, and this is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek slide that we use, and I know the guys in Bright Idea have seen this one. Within BT, whenever we get airtime with our senior management, we have what's called, a slide. So we've got to try and show in some little detail what the new idea scheme has done over the last 10 years. I mean, I've briefly gone through it with 30-odd slides. We use that sometimes to our seniors to say, here's what the idea scheme has done. So you can see the top is ideas for the various levels, where they've got to, how many campaigns we've run, how much the employee engagement been like. So again, it's all there on one slide. Again, a bit of a tongue-in-cheek, but hey, we've got to produce some things like that. So that's it from me. I know I've got some questions there, and again, if you've got questions afterwards you want to ask me, by all means, just come and approach me. I'm going to be here over the full 2 days. So I'm glad to talk to you about the new idea scheme. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Steve. Great presentation. Really great insight. I mean, I think a lot of what you shared hopefully is eye-opening for some of the folks here. I think the level of kind of rigor that you guys have built and how you go about, reporting your outcomes and your success is obviously key to, you guys being able to maintain for 10 years now with the Bright Idea platform. So one of my questions was really, you covered a lot about what you guys are currently doing, but really how did things kind of morph over time around the KPIs that you report back on, how your team is structured and that kind of stuff?
Okay, so in terms of the KPIs, yeah, you're right. In 2005, we kind of kicked off, and I think a lot of us sat in a room in our research center, you mentioned in the Industrial Park in Ipswich. 6 of us sat there and think, well, what do we do? We've got ideas coming in, how do we go about this? And when the first one launched, we said, well, what's it going to be worth? We didn't know. So we had to go and dig around for it. So I think KPIs for us, it took us a couple of years to get real KPIs going. And then they've evolved over the period of time to what you see today. And that's requests of campaign managers, our senior leaders to say, well, what's it delivering? How is it delivering it? What are you doing there? And so that's where they've kind of come from and how they've morphed. And in terms of the team, probably I didn't mention, there are actually 3 of us in the core team in BT. So there's Emma and Gordon and myself. And then we have our challenge managers and evaluator community as well. So hopefully that answers your question.
So from a value perspective, right, is it your guys' job to go back to that business unit or that sponsor to track that outcome value, or how does that process take place? Okay. Is that something that you go to a finance team for, or do you do that on your own, or is it just? It's
a bit of both, really. So we work with the adopters of the ideas because they're the people who have to do a justification case in some way, shape or form. And so we have to work with those people who've then inevitably got a finance person involved. We look at, well, what's the idea's value? What's its potential? What are you going to sign up to? Because a business case may say it's going to be worth millions. Yep. A finance person turned around and said, oh, no, it's not. I'm not going to sign up to that. It's going to impact us by this. So we have to take some realistic views on that. And we work with the adopters, the finance teams, and ourselves, because of the experience we've got, to come up with the values and make sure that we're getting the right sign-offs.
And you talked about, like an adoption, I think roughly 220 days from kind of idea submission to potential implementation. How long does it take for kind of that data to come back around the value that it's bringing to the table for BT?
The data starts to come in almost straight away. So once it's adopted, we ask the question straight away, what's the potential? And sometimes they don't know. They'll have a theoretical value, what they think it could be worth. But as the idea matures in that phase and as it kind of gets more traction in the line of business or the business unit, then we get a more realistic value. And then ultimately a business case is a great indicator of what it should do. But again, we go after that. We say, we'll track it for 12 months, say, well, what's it actually doing? Not only for our figures, but obviously we're going to reward someone. And we've got some quite strict tax rules in the UK that we have to adhere to if we're going to pay someone some cash.
And are you constantly kind of updating those numbers as there's more?
They get updated monthly, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so we work with the various business units and we get monthly stats back. And if they don't have it, we'll try and
Ballpark
make sure we get it. No, we'll get it. We'll say we'll never do ballpark. If we can't find it, we have to zero it.
Okay.
That's the kind of rule from finance. So it's in our own interest to make sure we get a value signed off somewhere.
So you guys obviously have been very successful in being able to track the outcomes. I think the return on investment is there. Has that success caused any problems for you guys? I mean, like, or I guess from an expectation perspective.
Yeah, my targets keep going up.
Your numbers just keep getting bigger every year.
They stay static, but sometimes, and they do go up. I suppose some of the biggest challenges for me on that is finance. We've got to make sure that we can prove to finance that's what's happening. That's what we expect to see from the idea, and and then we can give them information and data to support that to say, all right, if it was launched in April, here we are in October. We've got 6 months worth of data which proves the fact.
Yep. So I have a question. I know you guys obviously were on quote unquote on premise for a while, and you guys have formally moved to the cloud, which is obviously a big deal. Has that maybe expanded your capabilities? Obviously, it's a updated platform, but any plans maybe to be able to harness that and be able to go external now, or what types of doors has that opened, if any, for you guys?
Yeah, I mean for us, and we have done this in the past, probably not external as in customers.
Sure.
But we have worked with suppliers.
Okay.
So HP and us, we share the same platform, so we've done campaigns with those guys before. And we've run challenges on behalf of customers on an instance of the Bright Ideas platform as well. So that's something we'll go in, do some kind of consultancy as part of our account support to our customers and say, here's something we've done, it's worked successful. We share knowledge and they help them to justify their own idea scheme.
Gotcha.
In some ways.
Nice. I thought it was interesting to see the kind of rewards program that you guys have put in place. Is that something that's kind of been part of the program from day one, or how's that kind of made its way into the process? And you think that it's really a big driving factor in participation that you get and that kind of stuff? Yeah,
I mean, the rewards have been there since day one.
Okay.
Different guises, but we've always kind of publicized the fact that you can earn cash for your ideas, and we have some criteria around how we pay, what kind of percentage, what it's capped at, etc. So that's quite open and upfront to our people, so they can see that. But not all campaigns do that, as I say. Challenges, I keep saying campaigns. Not all challenges then do that. There are different initiatives and different challenges, and we kind of flex and we operate the best way we can.
So is it the challenge or the campaign or challenge sponsor that sets those criteria around whether or not there's an award associated with it, or is that something you guys help with?
We help. We kind of say what we have in place.
Okay.
Some people say, yeah, we'll kind of just adhere to those kind of rules, or they'll say, no, we want to do something different. So imagine the pitch day, we don't want to give someone a reward. They're actually, it could be part of their job. They want some funding.
Sure.
We're not going to pay them and give them an award for doing the job. Yeah.
Double dip.
Yeah.
All right, so final question. What do you kind of see as the future of the New Ideas program? I mean, you guys have 10 years under your belts. You've obviously had a lot of success. You've got great framework and structure in place. What do you see the next 2-3 years shaping up for?
I think one of the things for us would be mobile app. We've not initiated that yet.
Okay.
And you probably heard I mentioned EE, so that's a mobile provider. So they have, like you've got T-Mobile down the road here. We have these stores, and those people don't readily have access to the intranet to access our platform. So we see that the app would be a great way, because they're a mobile provider,
sure.
And you can download it, and they can then start interacting with the scheme as well.
Okay.
So we see that as kind of a next stage there, and then who knows going afterwards. It depends what you guys say later in terms of your rollout features.
Stay tuned. We'll get more of that detail here in an hour or so. So appreciate it. Appreciate your time, Steve. Thanks for being here. We're going to wrap up the Q&A. Thank you much.